Quite
think.
feel.
Yep.
Is Eli, is that Eli the 727 number there?
Normally Eli comes in where we can on like from the computer, but let me ask him to unmute. Oh, no. There's a 907-278-0997 number on here. Can you unmute your phone? Eli, is that you? They just hung up, or they just got kicked off.
I just called Eli there, and he didn't put he put the wrong access code in, so he's about ready to sign in.
Oh, very good. Okay.
My wingman, my co-skipper, Eli.
Your co-skipper.
Yeah, navigator. All right, I see Dan got on there. Dan just called me a few minutes ago and was working to get it out. Must have called Deb.
Yep.
So we're clicking away here. And for everyone that's on here for this segment, sorry about the short little bit of delay here. It pretty much everyone signs on at the prompt time, and then it takes just a few minutes to smooth the wrinkles out as everyone kind of comes on for these Zoom clinics or panel discussions. Yeah, so we'll be up and running here in just a couple minutes.
Eli just jumped on.
There he is.
Good morning, Eli.
You're muted, Eli.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for training me.
Yeah. All right, I gotta get my background up here. Ah, my background's gone. All righty.
Get the Shrike up there, Thor.
I know. We'll find a suitable background here real quick, and then that'll kick off the panel discussion. Okay. Let's find a random cool southeast shot here from the slideshow. There's a good one.
Things have slowed down. We could probably get started.
Yeah, okay, great.
That's a good one.
Okay, so yeah, there we go. We got a bear back there. So for everyone online, hey Eli, you want to mute your? Oh, there we go. We got a little backfeed there. So for everyone online, my name is Thor Stacy. I'm a registered guide here in Alaska. I've been guiding hunters for a little over 20 years now. I live in Juneau, Alaska now, but I'm originally from northern Alaska. I don't guide hunters in Southeast, but I do live in Southeast, and I have guided hunters in Southeast. And so what I thought we would do, Eli and I, is that I want to give everyone a chance, kind of an entry or an overview or a kind of a meet and greet to Southeast Alaska, the types of opportunities are there. Because when I think of Alaska, I think of caribou and moose. Well, we don't have caribou in Southeast Alaska. We have just a couple moose, but they're not really the kind of moose hunts you think about. We do have bears. We've got fishing. So Southeast Alaska is, when I first came there, it's almost like a different state. And so I'm going to introduce Southeast, do so. I promise not to take up too much time. And then Eli is a guide there from Petersburg. I'll let him introduce himself, but he's going to talk a little bit more about the hunts and what it means to outfit and talk about from his perspective as an active guide there in the region. So with that, I'm going to give everyone. I'm going to open up my. If you can't see your screen, try to see it. I am going to start with a geographic overview of Southeast Alaska, so we kind of wrap our head about what are we talking about here. So I think everyone should be able to see that Google Earth image. So I'm going to zoom out. So there's Alaska. Here's, you see my pointer, I'm sure, the northern part, and here we are down in the southeast portion of Alaska. That's the subject of today's of this clinic. So Southeast Alaska. So here's Dixon Entrance here. That's the boundary on the southern end of Southeast. South of there is Canada. Southeast Alaska is bordered to the east of Canada here, a big range of mountains. Everything on the coastal side is Alaskan, and everything on the interior side is British Columbia or the Yukon. To the north, this is up around Yakutat. Most people draw the line here at the end of Icy Strait, North Pass and South Pass. People think of Southeast Alaska ending there, but for a lot of purposes, Southeast Alaska really ends up here in Yakutat. And here's Haines over here. So that's kind of the region. And then of course you have the Pacific Ocean over to the west. So we're talking about a coastal rainforest that's characterized mostly by large islands. Some of the largest islands in Alaska are in Southeast. And as we zoom in here, I'm going to walk you through a little bit more of the specifics of Southeast Alaska. So I've zoomed in. I'll zoom out quickly. It's probably making everyone dizzy when I do that, so I apologize. But what we're looking at here is the northern portion of Southeast. So I'm going to work from north to south. Here's Juneau, Alaska's capital, and immediately to the west and south begin some of the famous brown bear hunting in Southeast. So this is Admiralty Island here, this large island. This is Chichagof. You see it's titled there on the Google Earth scene. And then this is Baranof Island right here. So we have the A, B, C islands. And the ABC Islands have some of the highest densities, if not the highest densities of brown bears in the world. Very famous place to hunt. Hunting there, many outfitters offer trips for those bears. Most of the hunting, it's either spring or fall season. Most is done in estuaries or on the tidelands. So what's significant about the ABC Islands is there is no black bears. So there's brown bears on those islands. There's deer on those islands. And as far as big game, and then there's some goats on Baranof. But it's really brown bears and quite a few deer. No wolves, no black bears. So that's significant. On the mainland, looking here, there are hunts in Southeast on the mainland for goats. There's steep, what is really, I'm going to look at Snettisham and Endicott and Tracy Arm here, and when you look at the mainland, you can just see that these are deeply carved glacial fjords. You can see the striations here of old evidence of those ice sheets that laid in there. And to this day, when you come into Endicott or Tracy Arm, there's icebergs floating in those bodies of water year round from large glaciers calving up at the head. So you say calving glaciers, beautiful fjords, must be a national park. Nope, we hunt there. There's guides that hunt goats in that country there. And then there's black bear hunting on the mainland as well. So I'm going to slowly reorient us here, looking north. That's a kind of a brief look at the mainland. And then we move ABC Islands up here. We move down towards where Eli lives. Here is Petersburg, right here. This is Krupanoff Island, QU Island, Prince of Wales Island. And this southern portion of Southeast is really famous for really large black bears. So these islands have a very few brown bears on them. Some have no brown bears. But when you see those, when you hear of those trophy black bears in Southeast, we're talking about this southern portion of Southeast, which is different than the northern part. Also, these islands, Prince of Wales, Kupernof, Q, Mitkoff, these southern islands also have wolves on them. They have large deer. There's something about either the soil or genetics, something about the deer in the southern portion of Southeast that make them very large in certain cases. There's an introduced population of elk on Edelin Island here. And yeah, and so the northern portion characterized by brown bears, steep mountains, high densities of bears and salmon streams. All of this is the temperate rainforest, but the southeast portion, the islands are a little less mountainous. They have black bears on them, wolves, large deer, etc. So within all of that, I'm going to just kind of give a quick slideshow here of some opportunities that you have in Southeast, and then I'm going to turn it over to Eli because we really want to get to questions, and I'm taking a little longer than what I had hoped, just because I get fired up about talking about Southeast Alaska. So this, I'm going to just go through a brief slideshow here. This is off the shoreline. This is up in the muskegs. So Southeast has rocky shorelines, fjords, saltwater, estuaries, but a lot of Southeast is muskegs and these open swampy timber areas. So that's a little different look at Southeast. Snowy, there's a picture just in Juneau of a building, really nice scenery there. There's a picture of the estuaries and out looking up towards the Fairweather Range. We were out duck hunting that evening, and this is in September to give you just kind of a look at that. Here's climbing up into the Alpine. You know, that's one of the big terrains in Southeast Alaska, is climbing through all of the big timber and getting up into the Alpine. We do early deer hunts in Southeast in the Alpine, and of course, you climb up high to get to goats. So beautiful views of rainforests and water. Southeast is a stunning place. There's somehow that photo didn't work well. Here's a couple decent bears from Southeast. Eli will talk more about trophy quality and all of that, but Southeast Alaska, the bears, a good bear is between 8 and 8.5 feet, solid bear. Both of those bears are in, you know, an honest 8.5 foot class. I'm 6'4", a couple nice bears from a few springs ago. Here's a nice big older bear. You see he has a damaged eye and ear. This gentleman was from Idaho. Wonderful, wonderful man. We caught a 35-pound king the day before, saw like 25 bears, and then we picked through some nice ones, and he killed this just right at 9 foot old bear warrior, missing some body parts, and see his claws broken off and stuff. He's a pretty awesome animal, and that was a great trip. King salmon and big brown bears is awesome, and it rains a lot, as you can see. Fall bear there on a salmon stream. There's another that's about an 8.5 foot bear. You can see that you're in tight. The bears are on fish. There's heavy timber right to the creeks. You can envision how exciting it is to go into those creeks early in the morning or staying out late at night, pushing dark, and mixing it up with these bears looking for a big one. It's just, you know, you can see the smiles on our face. We've had some excitement that day. It was awesome. So family, there's my dad. Going to Southeast Alaska is a little less physical in a lot of ways. It's a really mental game. It's a great place to bring your family. Here's my dad, come down to do some fishing in the springtime, a couple nice king salmon. So bringing the family, there's the kids with the king salmon. There's me with a king salmon. And then here's my friend Mike and I in the fall. We're out hunting blacktails. Probably the most underrated hunt that I know of is blacktail hunt in Southeast Alaska in the fall time. to go out and call those deer and move through the muskegs. You know, once again, you can see the smiles on our face. Where we were hunting, that's a good deer. We don't have, in that particular island, in that area, it'd be a small miracle to kill a Boone and Crockett deer. That's what I would consider to be a really solid, beautiful deer. He probably weighed 120 pounds or so. Excellent representative of the species. They are, they're kind of like the coos deer of the blacktail world. So blacktails are, and you know, I can stare at a deer picture forever, but I'll move on. Oh wow, another big deer picture. This is a theme, nice theme that's developing here, and duck hunting. So when you come up in the fall, you know, we got some spring king salmon fishing and all that, but depending on if your outfitter can do it and how their setup is, believe it or not, you can go out and look for a few puddle ducks. We got phenomenal hunting in the wetlands, and we also happen to have all the sea ducks. So I'm a bird hunter. That's a nice widgeon there, and my old duck hunting dog that doesn't look like a duck hunting dog, but he was awesome. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eli.
Oh, sorry about that. You hear me okay? How about now? You got me?
We hear you.
Okay. Yeah, that was a good introduction, Thor. It really captures Southeast Alaska in a beautiful way. As you can see, we have thousands and thousands of islands. And so what we really have is you enter the world of hunting boats. And so I'm not a very good public speaker, but I know about hunting boats and I know how to hunt Southeast Alaska. And I'd like to introduce that to you as best as I can. So when you enter the world of hunting boats, you know, you're going to have a base camp of a 50-foot boat, maybe an 80-foot boat. And what you'll do when you come to Southeast Alaska is you'll have this movable base camp. And that's the attraction and the beauty of Southeast Alaska, is you have a movable base camp. And so as Thor pointed out, it's a big, big, intricate place. And so you're able to take your base camp and you afford the luxuries of having maybe a jet sled, maybe a couple hunting boats, and then all the conveniences that you have from home. And that's what my clients really like, is you have things that make you comfortable. So what I advertise is you're actually touching Alaska's wildest places, and you're doing it with comfort. And that's a big attraction. And so what these boats offer is they have diesel stoves, diesel heaters, sometimes a dry room. You have a bathroom, a shower, you know, comforts that you can get cleaned up. You got a refrigerator, maybe a freezer, so you can freeze sea ducks like Thor was showing you. You've got a warm, dry bunk that's consistent, so you're able to go out into the field and you're able to be in the wildest places, and then you're able to come home to something comfortable. And that's what my clients really love. So as Thor pointed out, we've got a pretty broad range of big game available here. You've got the big bears, you've got the ghosts, you've got the deer, you got the wolves, and you can move around with your big boat and touch all the different species. So some of the beauty of Southeast Alaska is that you're able to book hunts back to back for different species and do it pretty comfortably. And so that's what we offer. And so what I was trying to think of is ways that it could help you have a successful hunt in Southeast Alaska based on a boat. And I've noticed some things in my 31 years of guiding off of boats that you can do to ensure your hunt is good here in Southeast Alaska. And it covers all the different species. We won't cover specifics on certain species, but one thing you get with a boat is you can afford redundancy. And so like in a Super Cub, you can't realistically bring a spare rifle and a spare scope. You can't bring extra raincoats. But when you do a boat hunt in Southeast Alaska, one of the things that ensures your hunt is that you can afford to bring that stuff. You know, we don't want a 1,000-pound box of stuff on the boat, but you can bring some extra important details. And so one thing you can do to make sure that you're getting your money's worth, your comfort, that you're able to hunt as hard as necessary to do your whole hunt, because you've got this beautiful base camp where you can dry out, get restarts that are comfortable, is have redundancy. So I encourage my hunters to bring a spare rifle. If they're doing a brown bear hunt, you know, you got a 375, bring your 300 also. You know, if something happens to that 375, you've got an extra. And we've had failures with guns, and it's just simple. We've got a big gun case, and most guys do. Just stick your rifle in there, and you're ensuring your hunt that way. We've had scope failures, and so you can bring a spare scope. I had a guy on a brown bear hunt a few years ago, and he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, but he had a spare Zeiss scope. And so we slapped that guy on and salvaged his hunt. So redundancy is a really important thing when you're dealing with Southeast Alaska. Something that Thor kind of touched on is we're really rainy here. We're a rainforest. And so you go down to Ketchikan, you get 180 inches of rain a year. You go over Baranof, Port Walter, you get 240 inches of rain a year. You come to Petersburg, you get 120 inches of rain a year, so we're wet. And so something I do with the redundancy is I'll wear like my Swazi or my QU raincoat, and I'll just put a Grundens or a Helly Hansen over the top of it, because you can afford that. You've got the space for that. Then when it's time to go and make a stock, you can get out of your shell, you can comfortably make your stock, and you're keeping your semi-waterproof, pretty waterproof QU or Swazi or Sitka, whatever it is, you're keeping it bone dry for the time of the stock. Another thing that's really important because it's wet is your scope covers. And so most guys don't bring a spotting scope, but what you really need is you need really good lens caps. If you do bring a spotting scope, bring lens caps. And with your scope, you know, if you're bringing a Leopold scope, they make aluminum scope covers. They've got a little watertight seal in them. I really encourage those new aluminum scope covers because they're the most fail-proof of any we've seen. If you're bringing a neoprene or a bikini style scope cover, bring 2 of them, because you know, in the course of a day, it's very possible that even with that nice scope cover, it's going to get wet. So just swap it out, put one in your pocket and put the dry one on, or if you lose one, you got an extra. So that's redundancy. One thing that's different about Southeast Alaska is a lot of my guys are from, you know, central United States, and they just haven't been on boats very much. And so one thing, you have to adjust your mind to using a boat. And so you're getting off a big boat, you're getting onto a little boat, you're getting into the little boat, and then when it's time to do action, you're going to make a stock, you're going to get out of the little boat. So my big concern, and most of the failures I've seen, I've never had anybody really hurt, but when people get banged up, it's between these movable objects, a boat and shore or a boat and a boat. So it's not like opening your car door or your airplane door and just stepping out onto the runway or onto the street. You're getting out of a movable object. And so if you're planning on hunting Southeast Alaska, just have it in mind that you have to be methodical dealing with boats. Pick out a spot according to what you can do, and your guide will help you. I have a ladder getting from my big boat down into the little boats. Makes it safer, but you still have to pick your spots. So I've had guys fall down because the boats move and injure their ribs or hurt a leg or whatever. And usually it's just because guys aren't being careful. So keep that in mind if you're going to do a hunt in Southeast Alaska or a boat hunt, that's possibly going to be a spot that you hadn't thought of. You might be thinking of a bear charging you and hurting you, but it might just be the boat. And so, so be methodical. And as you get out on shore, we've had guys get out of the boat, and because they're not used to dealing with boats, they actually pull the skiff over themselves. And so realize that you're in a movable object. You might have a 1,000-pound skiff, but once you ground 1 foot on the beach, you can move that 1,000 pounds really easy and pull it right over you. So think about how you're getting out of the boat. And if you'll do that and kind of mentally prepare for that, that'll make your whole hunt and the smoothness of your stocks go better. Another thought I had that might make your hunt more successful in Southeast Alaska, about half my hunters think of it, and it's hard to present it to them during the middle of the hunt, but really repetitious number of stalks is your success. The higher number of stalks you do, it's math, the better your odds are of being successful, whether it's brown bears, black bears. And so something you can do with your guide is always going to be messing with his boat. We have 24 vertical feet of tidal exchange on the maximum. And so we're talking about a lot of water moving. So when you're a guide in Southeast Alaska, you're as much a boatman as you are a hunting guide. You're picking spots of where to put your boat. And if you can help your guide, you know, grab the spotting scope, grab the rifles, maybe pull in the boat, you know, the quicker you make the transition between the skiff and the stock, the numbers go up for your stocks. And so that's something you can just see what your guide's method is for anchoring his skiff or his small hunting boat. And that will help your success on a hunt in Southeast go up considerably. And the guys that help, we can just pound out the stocks. Like Thor mentioned, some days you'll see high numbers of bears. When we're hunting on the ABCs, say, it's not unusual, you know, we don't promise, but it's not unusual to see 20 to 40 bears in a day. It's not impossible. Some days are slow days, but those, so if you can pound out the stocks, get your spotting scope set up, that will really help you. How am I doing, Thor? Am I going over time yet?
Yeah, well, great. Let's, we could, no, we don't have a set time per se, but let's, if you got some, we could kind of wrap up, because let's see if we got some good questions out there. I bet you, I think we probably dribbled enough out there for folks to prompt some questions. Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead, maybe if you got it, close down there. If you got anything else to say, that was awesome. And then we'll go to questions.
Okay, one other thing you could wrap your mind around, I'll just say as closing, is that the thing I notice most about my hunters, for the first 3 days they're in the field, you're on a boat and everybody brings nice binoculars, but you really have to, you know, you always have to work at glassing. That's the key of your success. But on a boat, you're moving a little bit, so you don't want to bring more than a 10-power glass. You know, 7, 8, 10 is kind of maximum, because if your eyes aren't exercised to looking for a stable object while you're moving, and a lot of times we're 1,000 yards offshore, there's some trick to it. So you want to work at it, bring a low enough power glass that you can actually use it. You start bringing a 12, 15, 20 power, which is great for coos deer, mule deer. It's not so good for Southeast Alaska out of a boat. So those are some thoughts.
Yeah, that's great. Could you mute your? I get, for some reason I get a little bit of a back feed from you, Eli. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to go to questions, and so we have a chat window. If you move your arrow for everyone online, go down to the bottom. It says chat. You can type questions into the chat, or you can come, you know, break through and unmute yourself, and I will. We're here to answer questions. And just as we go to questions, I'd remind everyone that our exhibitors, Eli is. You can take a personal meeting or call them up and continue this discussion. So you know, there's meetings that are open, and if you guys have questions, want to talk in depth about anything here that came up outside of the venue, by all means, set an appointment with our exhibitors. It's right there on their on the website in their calendar. So with that, I see some folks online here. We've got a really great. Oh, okay. I've got one from Steve Sminsky in the chat window. We'll let Eli take this one. Says, any tips for keeping your morale up in the never-ending rain and thick brush? You're muted, Eli.
Okay, thank you, Thor. You know, that's the big question always, is how to keep your mind honed, and that's being a hunter. So it's a good question. The brush, you know, the brush is the haven for those deer. That's why we have a lot of deer. And it's also the haven for the goats. That's how they escape the goats. So you're going to have to work those edges. And maybe more than keeping your morale up, you have to know where to touch. You know, so what we do is we're working the brush, but we're not floundering and swimming through brush. You know, so it might be how you're approaching it and how your guide's approaching it, because those deer are getting their safe haven in the brush. And so I don't know if you're talking about deer specific, but you know, if you're in the brush all the time, you're going to have a hard time getting a lot of big bucks, in my experience. So for morale, maybe just change your technique a little bit. If you're mingling with the brush a lot, we wear wool, even if we get wet. You know, if the deer are just crowded into the brush, and once you start seeing big bucks, that'll keep your morale up. And then as far as rain goes, have the right gear. You know, I'm in love with Simms products. I use Simms G4 waders because I'm just always comfortable. And then, like I talked about with redundancy, you can double layer your raincoats, and then when you're dry, it's going to keep your morale up. So make sure you got the right gear and enough of it, and you can afford that off of a boat. So does that answer it, Steve?
We'll assume that gets to his answer there. I'll take the next question. Well, let's alternate, Eli. I'll take the next one here. So I've got a question in the chat window. It says, how does Sitka deer hunting in Southeast Alaska differ from Kodiak? And I can take this. I have hunted and guided deer hunter. Well, yeah, guided deer hunters in both Kodiak and Southeast. So in Alaska, the two places that you would go to hunt Sitka black-tailed deer would be either Kodiak Island, Unit 8, or somewhere in Southeast Alaska. So that gives everyone a perspective on the question. Hey, the deer were introduced to Kodiak. They are a rainforest animal. They're from the Pacific Northwest up into Southeast Alaska. And then there was deer brought over to Kodiak. Kodiak is quite a different environment. It's alders, grasslands, much more open country. So the strategies that we used to hunt deer on Kodiak was we get to a position, we sit and glass, and then we put a stock on the deer. It's a spot and stock type hunting. My experience with the animal is that the deer on Kodiak are pretty vulnerable to that type of hunting. They're a rainforest animal. They're used to being in the brush, used to being in close. Eyesight, they do have good eyesight, but they have a radius that they will let you enter oftentimes, or that they're not as alert to. So I would say that the hunting on Kodiak is spot and stock. The animal's in a little different environment, and I would say that and you have a really excellent chance of using your eyes to pick through different size deer on Kodiak. So those are different. That's Kodiak. Southeast Alaska, the deer are in the rainforest, in the muskeg, on the beaches, in the brush, like Eli was saying. And a lot of what we do in Southeast, because we're hunting in cover and places where we don't have vistas where we can glass and pick the deer over, is we call. We engage with these deer on an auditory level. They're listening. It's interspecies communication. You know, we play the fawn and try to draw these deer in. And if I get going on this too much, I just get passionate, because there's nothing like moving through the muskegs and the big timber looking for these deer. the difference is that it's less selective. You know, on Kodiak, you're able to glass and try to put a number on the deer with your spotting scope. Southeast Alaska, man, you're in the jungle, you're moving through the country, you're in close in the mix with these animals, and you're calling them in, and maybe a big deer comes out, maybe it doesn't. So I'd say that's the two differences. So with that, I think we'll go to the next question. And this is from Julars. It says, what is the season dates for fall combo bear blacktail hunts? And that's to Eli. You're up next.
Okay, so if you want to combine, say, a black bear and a Sitka blacktail, you can do it. The season opens for blacktail in August. The season opens for black bear September 1st. And so how we've done that before is in September, you do a black bear hunt, and then you either book additional days for your deer, or if you get lucky, then you crawl up from the salmon stream up onto the alpine and do a day hunt type deal. If you want to do it with the brown bear, it's a little later in the season. You can do the same thing if you're in the right location. And that season starts September 15th. The one thing that's difficult about that is you have to be strong enough that you can make day trips, because you're usually based out of the boat with the bears in Southeast Alaska. And then you have to be able to make it up onto the alpine and back, unless you arrange for your guide to bring a full nother, setup, like tents and, whatever kind of mountain food you need. So I don't usually do that. We just day hunt. So you literally blast up in the morning, and then you blast back down in the evening. And so it's a little more difficult, but we do it. It's doable.
Okay, thanks, Eli. I got that little bit of backfeed going on again. Yeah. For some reason, it's just your rigging there. So I got a follow up here from Steve Osminski. He says, I was talking more about bears in the salmon streams. I've hunted black bear on Doll Island on my own and brown bear on Yakutat. Both hunts were most challenging mentally with the weather, lack of visibility, along with streams. And I guess I could follow up just a little bit. Steve, those are great comments. I think that one of the advantages, one of the things that I know that I do on my sheep hunts, or that I'm sure Eli does, any of the guides do, is they work to really learn their area. What's your point of entries to a certain stream in the fall? What's the way? How do we get our clients there efficiently? We're always looking for ways to be efficient. And anytime you come into an area the first time, there's going to be some inefficiencies. There's going to be some brush beating and some mingling. I like that mingling with the brush. I like that. Like Eli said, you're going to do some additional mingling. But as time goes on, and these outfitters that are experienced in their areas, they're going to move you through the country in a way that avoids those negative interactions with the brush, and they've most likely been everywhere at least twice. I know that when I'm sheep hunting or bear hunting, I do the best I can for route selection. Route selection is more than just comfort. It can have to do with whether or not you get the animal. So we're always mentally rehearsing, how we might put a stalk or a move on an animal with a certain wind in a certain place. We're looking for that wind switch at a certain time of night and thinking about which bay we're going to end up in. Eli hit on the boat aspect. Man, we've got a 3-dimensional map in our head thinking about, what's the wind going to do tonight? What's the weather call? We're waiting through the afternoon, watching the conditions change. Oftentimes our hunters ask us what the plan is. And our plan is usually, well, we're going to see what the wind is going to do. So we don't even really have much of a plan until we watch those certain conditions line up. And it's all about efficiency, avoiding the brush, making a move, making a stalk, positioning ourselves in a place where we have a good feeling that the animals are going to be. Springtime, estuaries out in the open, bear breeding season for bears, fall time, we're definitely looking at food sources. So thinking about getting up in the creeks. So long answer, but as guides, you know, we are switched on trying to think about how to get you there safely and efficiently. So and effectively. So with that, so what other questions do we have out there? I've got a chat window that's got a little silent here, talking about hunting in Southeast and those opportunities. You know, we've got goat. Do we have any goat questions out there? Eli's a very experienced goat hunter in Southeast, so we hadn't even hit on that animal. So anyone that wants to come on can unmute and just kind of break in. Otherwise, we'll make some wrap-up comments here. Okay, well, either we got a shy group or we've got a technologically challenged group that doesn't know how to unmute themselves. Hard to know. Oh, here's a question. It says, Jay Larson, we'll go to Eli. It says, are the brown bear or mountain goat hunts a draw? And you're muted, Eli, so you got to unmute.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out. I'm close to technologically unable, but I got her. You got me? No?
We got you.
You
Yep.
got me? Okay. Yeah, that's a short answer. No, that's the beauty of Southeast Alaska also, is that everything's over the counter here. So, you know, if the guide has permits, they can take you.
Perfect. Okay, Steve followed up with us there, Eli, and says, thank you. Definitely living on a nice warm boat would do a lot for my mental state. So we can agree with that. Yeah, so we've got a few more minutes here. Is there anyone else like to break on with some questions about Southeast Alaska? Okay, things are kind of going quiet. I guess I just I'll sum up here and let Eli sum up. Southeast Alaska is just magic. You know, the northern part of Alaska, we've got mountains and tundra and big wide open spaces. And here you have another, almost a state within a state. It's big timber. Some of the old growth forests that are like walking through a time, like you're back in time in some kind of fairy tale book. The air is clear. There's all these beautiful streams that come into the ocean. Most of them are short. They've got salmon in them. They've got bears on them. We've got beautiful alpine country with Sitka black-tailed deer. And, you know, we've got mountain goats on steep mountains. We've got glaciers, all whales a leaping, salmon a splashing, you know, the whole 9 yards, you know, the whole image of Alaska is all right there. And it's a place that when I first came to growing up in northern Alaska, just kind of blew me away. So I urge folks, if you're into hunting and you like the idea of making a trip to Alaska to call some of the outfitters that are exhibitors or not, or others that you can find that guide in Southeast Alaska, and look into your options. It's an amazing place to see. So with that, I'll go to Eli.
Yeah, thank you, Thor. Yeah, that's really nice. You capture how I feel about Southeast Alaska. It's magical. I've been here over 50 years, born here, and after guiding and commercial fishing here my whole life, I can see it takes several lifetimes to do justice to the immensity and the intricacy of this place. As Thor said, it's magical. One of the things I've noticed through the years that really adds to the trips, and my clients tell me over and over, is they say the different dimensions make the trip more than a hunting trip. It makes it an adventure. And so something you'll do, I I don't think Thor mentioned it, but you can pretty easily bring a fly rod, or you can put out crab pots, and so you get a whole different dimension, the sea dimension, and so that's pretty satisfying for a lot of people. And I had one more thought on that I want to sum up my thoughts with, that I think would help with people's success, because it's such rainy country. We talked about scope covers and lens covers and all that stuff. But you know, if you wear eyeglasses, a simple thing you can do is you can get contacts, even if your eyes don't really like them, because it's 2 more layers of glass that you don't have to wipe off. And I think Thor could probably tell you the same as me, is we've had guys miss shots at good animals, whether you're after deer or goats or any of the bears, just because we're busy wiping lenses. And that's really disappointing when you work for, you know, sometimes it's at the end of the trip, or you have a marvelous animal. So sometimes just making sure you got contacts, so you got 1 less lens to wipe, can ensure your trip for you. But I've done this for 31 years, and I'm still enjoying it, and lots new to see.
Hey, Eli, before I forget, could you mention the name of your outfit there, just so folks can find you in the list of exhibitors, and just so that they know your business name? And then second, I got a direct message from a Victor Betzold, who said, and I'm butchering names probably. He says, you mentioned trophy black bear in some locations. Could you repeat that part? So maybe if you'd just make sure everyone knows how to find you, and then also get to this trophy black bear question.
You bet. Yeah. So if you're looking for our business, that's Alaska Coastal Hunting LLC. The logo has a boat on it. And yeah, you can find it in the list there. And then to answer your question, all of Southeast Alaska, from the ABC Islands south, have big black bears. They're all considered trophy black bear areas. The mainland, so from Juneau south to Ketchikan, that'd be Beam Canal all along the mainland. And then all the adjacent islands, that would be Kupernoff Island, QU Island, Prince of Wales Island. There's really, really good genes there. The bears have lots of salmon to eat. And then all the shoreline offers so much food. There's crabs, there's salmon, there's all the different things that the sea washes up, whether it's whales or seals or even sea vegetables, you know, seaweed and that kind of stuff they'll eat. So it all makes them big, and there's lots of protein. So all the islands and the mainland and southeast grows big bears. Some of the islands have bigger genetics for skulls. If you're into the skulls, Prince of Wales, Kupernoff, QU, they have the best genes in Southeast Alaska for skulls. You get about the same size animal in Unit 1, but the zygomatic arches, so that's the cheek arches, are just a little narrower. So you get for the same size animal, you get a skull that's about an inch narrow, or an inch smaller. A 19-inch skull on the mainland, the same bear on the islands would be 20 inches. So I think that's something.
Okay, we'll follow up. You guys know how to get a hold of Eli there. Eli is the man. Petersburg's a wonderful place, and Eli's got answers to all your guys' questions. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this portion. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. I hope everyone learned a little bit. That's really the goal here. And appreciate everyone's time and participation. And just can't emphasize enough, now's a chance to set those meetings. If you got questions with outfitters that do a hunt, just think about it. It's like swinging by their booth at a normal show. It's just we're in a virtual space. So with that, thank you everyone so much for attending. And I'm going to actually go to a sheep seminar here coming up next. So, okay, thank everyone so much. You guys have a wonderful day. Happy New Year, and thanks for attending our event. It means a lot to all of us. I know that.
Thanks, Thor. Thanks, Eli. Great job, guys. Just want to remind everyone, log off here, go back to the Expo page, and you can jump onto our sheep seminar that's starting in about 8 minutes. So Thanks everyone for attending, and we'll see you over in the next one.